Hello and welcome to our live videocast training. I am your host, Amber Ludwig, and I am so honored today because I get to interview Lisa Marie Platske, who is an award-winning leadership and connection expert. And below this videocast, you'll be able to see links to her website, and you can click over and check her out as we're talking. But Lisa, I want to welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amber. It's wonderful to be here with you. I mean, I really feel like you and I are sitting face to face. And you know, what a beautiful thing about the Google Hangouts feature.
I know, it's such awesome technology. And for those of you listening, I just met Lisa not too long ago when we were kicking off the Authentic Business Success Summit, and we had a People's Choice nomination to, figure out who's going to be our 15th speaker in the lineup, and so many people nominated Lisa, it was ridiculous. And as soon as the first nomination started pouring in, I was just blown away by this woman. I mean, just her heart, her integrity, her results with her clients. So I had to invite her to come in so I could interview her for one of our first video casts. And she is a part of the summit. She's offering an incredible bonus package for people that buy into the summit. Definitely have to check her out on social media, and you're going to be hearing me promote Lisa a lot more throughout the year because I think she's fantastic. And I really want to get started by having Lisa share her story. How did she get to this place? What inspired her to create her company? What results is she getting with her clients? I know she has an incredible event coming up soon. So Lisa, I'm going to have you take the stage and just get started by sharing a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you. And yes, I mean, I do want to just take a brief step back
Sure.
and say, thank heavens for, the Authentic Business Success Summit. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So,
That's true.
It's my pleasure to be able to have offered a bonus. And I really thank you for putting that event together because it did open the door. And I think that's the greatest thing about taking advantage of possibilities and opportunities that are out there and what they turn into. So my journey as an entrepreneur was that of the accidental entrepreneur. I wasn't somebody who said, gosh, I want to have a business. I wasn't the kid who, had the lemonade stand and turned it into something that was, a bigger idea. That wasn't me at all. I actually was quite content in my job. It was a career that I loved. My background in criminal justice, and I worked in federal law enforcement, and so that was my dream. That was my passion. I enjoyed doing it so much. And what happened was when I was, had this sort of crazy career, and I may speak about it later, but when I was looking at, do I stay in the career or do I not? It was really because of meeting my husband. I was involved in leadership training in the government, loved leadership, have always had a passion for it, and had the ability to teach at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, to develop curriculum post 9/11 at the Leadership Development Center, and had these opportunities. And one time I went to an event and they seated us alphabetically. And so my last name was Platske, and the guy I sat next to, his last name was Platske. And if you fast forward, I don't hyphenate because I'd be Lisa Marie Platske, and that would be too much of a mouthful for people to pronounce. But we actually, my husband and I dated, and we never lived in the same state. We had a great, relationship. It was wonderful, but I got a transfer to Georgia, and he was living in DC, and I was living in New York, and then he took one to California, and I took one to Texas. And so you can see we weren't really getting any closer. And when we were getting married, I figured we would just live apart. And my friends said to me, well, usually couples who get married live in the same household. so we had the conversation about this. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? We have competing careers. And I never thought about going out on my own, but I had such a passion for leadership. Leadership being about influence. If you don't have any followers, you don't have any influence. And in business, that means you don't get to serve your clients, the people who so need your brilliance. And I think, leadership is just the foundation of so much. So I made the decision to open a leadership training company 8.5 years ago, and the rest is history. So a little bit of a lot of twists and turns along that entrepreneurial
Sure.
journey, to get me to today.
Well, so talk to me about the types of clients. Like, who's your ideal client that comes to you, and what's really the process that you take them through, and what kind of results can they expect to see?
Sure. That's a great question. Because leadership is such a broad topic. And
Right.
in the beginning, it was like, wow, what is that area? And what I realized for me is that piece of influence. I work with a lot of people and get clients who are feeling unnoticed. They do
Yeah.
great work, but they're feeling invisible. Like I don't understand, why that person over there, I do better work than them, but they seem to get such a large market share. Like, they
Right.
clients seem to scoop them up and really hang on to every word that they say. And why is that? And I found that when I looked at my work in the government, it was very much the same, that I had a very difficult job where, I didn't quite fit in. I mean, I had long blonde hair and red, white, and blue nails, and, I was more like law enforcement Barbie than anything to be taken serious. And, so, I had to learn how to position myself so that I could earn the respect of the guys that I work with, be taken seriously, and be eligible for promotions. And in doing that, I did that without losing my sense of self, without compromising who I was.
I
And,
love that.
my nickname was Mary Effin Sunshine. And so, it's it's okay. It's okay. You know what I mean? To be happy. I didn't have to be the scowly guy on the piers, with the blue uniform and the badge and the gun. I could be myself. And that's one of the things with my clients, is helping them be able to position themselves so they can be seen, they can be heard, and they can be rewarded with big opportunities. One of my clients this past year, when we looked at last year, she made $50,000 to the 2012.
Okay.
And so she came to me saying, I don't get it. I've been doing this job. I've had my business for almost 30 years. I don't get it. What is it that, and she had ups and downs. So there were some years that were much higher, but,
Hmm.
what was it? What was she missing out on? And this past year, she earned $500,000. So from 50 to 500 is a
Okay.
huge,
How did you do that?
huge jump. And what we did was we positioned her. We positioned her so that people could see her people. Sometimes, when you're saying things, when you're, online, or whether you're offline, or whether you're speaking to somebody, you're so concerned on either A, making a sale, or B, trying to speak to everybody, that
Mm,
you speak to nobody. And I'm sure you see that in the work that you do. You know,
absolutely.
it's a killer, because the person, really high, puts layers and layers of stuff upon where their brilliance is. And even with her, she really fought me on it. It was, but I could do this, and I could, yes, you could do a lot of things. You're a really brilliant woman, but nobody can hear you because you're, the jack of all trades and you're master of none. And so your people want that thing that you do. And helping them to be able to uncover that, to tell more of their story, to use what I call the pearls of wisdom, and be able to share it in a way that somebody goes, wow, I need that. I mean, there's 7 billion people in the world. All of them are not your clients. Not
Right.
even half of them are your clients, not even. So, you know, I think we get really caught up on, what if I miss that person, and
So true. I mean, you are hitting on maybe one of the most important things that an entrepreneur really needs to grasp. And I face this in my own business because I was offering websites and social media and list building, and I'll do landing pages and bestseller campaigns and this and that. And before you know it, nobody has a clue what I do.
right,
And
right,
I still struggle with that on the services side. But when I got really crystal clear about the exact client that I ultimately wanted, I'm seeing huge shifts in my business. Do you
yeah.
have any sort of exercises or tips or action steps that an entrepreneur can do today that they can try to get a little bit more clear on what they do or who they ultimately serve?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, and I do want to say, Amber, that it's not something either that I struggle with. So I think that every entrepreneur, goes through that because there's so many people out there that you could help, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then once you do that, it muddies the water and people can't really tell. Like you said, it's like you could do this and you could do this. So one of the things, really that I go back to is being able to answer the question of why you do what you do. And I know that sounds like just so broad, but what I will say is that when you ask yourself, well, okay, I do this because I want to make a difference. Okay, so why do you want to make a difference? It's almost like peeling the onion. Okay, so you want to make a difference because you want to help people. Okay, so why do you want to help people? And going through that process. So you want to help people because you think that and we'll take, for example, I can use, that being a realtor. Okay, you want to help people because you think that, there's a lot of people out there who aren't getting right information. Okay, so you want to help people because they need somebody on their side. Okay, yes, all right. So why is that important to you? And when you layer it down, you find that there's generally a gem. What I call, that pearl of wisdom. There's usually a really specific reason that's tied to something about who you are. And for me, when I looked at leadership, I can talk about communication, I can talk about generational differences, conflict management. There are a lot of things that when I go into an organization and do corporate trainings that I can support them with. But that's really more of a broader surface. I get into strategy with clients, but the real genius, the real piece is that piece of not being seen. And the reason why is because when I look at it for me, in my work, in my past, in my life in the government, I could not be seen for the great work that I could do. And I would try to be noticed for something else. I wasn't the best at enforcement. I was not this, tougher than nails. Come on, let's go. That was not me at all. I was the connector, but I always wanted so much to be the other thing, right? Because what you're not as good at is the thing that you want to be, that you then start marketing that, right? Because you figure people want that, rather than looking at, in me, what did I really offer? And what I offered is something that was so brilliant. My intelligence, my ability to connect with people meant that even this year, and I've been gone for over 10 years, my employees call me on my birthday and my wedding anniversary every single year. I've been gone 10 years.
Wow.
And they still have a sign in the office that said, "What would Lisa do?" And they don't remember me for my great enforcement, and they don't remember me for those things. But I positioned myself as an expert by using the things, the gifts that were mine and uniquely mine, that allowed them to blossom and be who they needed to be, even as very tough officers who thought that women shouldn't be on the job. And a lot of times what happens is when you get to the end of the why you do something, there's this big aha. For one of my clients, it was that she moved, I'm going to use this example to tie in the realtor. She moved around a lot as a child, and so no place was home. And so having a home is her story. It's the gift. And when she leads with that, people who are transitional attract to her like magnets because she understands. She can feel their pain of what they're going through. And that's what we all want. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be loved. We want to be appreciated, right? And that allows that connection to happen. So I hope that was a tangible enough exercise. I'm sorry.
Oh, it makes so much sense.
No.
So you really start with your why, you peel back that layer, and then all of a sudden you usually will get your great aha, your message about why you do what you do. And if you really lead with that, and if you're really clear about who you can serve, then that positions you as a leader and you'll get better results. Is that correct?
That's a great summation. But the end part is that it's not just your one thing, there's these multiple pearls. And so you're leading with a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this, so that if we had a meeting, I might share one sentence and then one sentence, and then one sentence. I would never give somebody the entire picture. I would give it to them little at a time, and it allows them to then, to taps into the part of the brain that can really hear, which, in your ancient brain, and it allows it to then position yourself, like you mentioned, position yourself in a way that people can really hear it. And sometimes, we want to share the whole story at once, right? And we're so excited by what we do that one of the tips that I tell people is to act like a journalist. When you're making the connection and you're giving the information to people, a journalist asks good questions. A great leader asks great questions. You should be asking who, what, where, when, why to the person you're speaking versus being so concerned about what it is that you're giving to them. But then you have these pearls of wisdom that as you're asking those questions, you're throwing out a pearl of wisdom that's positioning you as the expert. But you're still employing what I call the 51-49 rule, which is being more interested in other people than trying to be interesting.
That makes a lot of sense. Something that came up for me is right now we're in this age where everyone is so distracted. Their attention spans are like gone before somebody even can start talking. So maybe one of the strategies is to, open yourself up and ask your clients or your potential customers questions and have them engage with you, and then that gives you more time to explain your story as you engage in that conversation, right?
Sure, absolutely. And that could be online, it could be offline. If you say that you're doing something and then somebody goes, I'm having a party on Saturday night, and somebody writes back, I sell cupcakes, please buy them. Does that make you want to buy them? Exactly. But people do it, right?
I know, all the time.
And good people, authentic, brilliant people who have stuff that could change the world. And that's the part that really pains me, is that when some of these people that I meet that are clients are not being seen, there's people that need them that aren't getting what they have. And that's the sad part of the equation, right? So
right.
That means that people can't be helped. It means they can't be supported.
So what are some other ways that I can become a leader in my industry or better position myself in order to get better results and grow my company? Are there any other processes or tips that you would take your clients through?
I have 7 pillars of leadership.
Oh, great. Let's talk about that.
So the 7 pillars of leadership, I remember was a criminal justice major. I was the accidental entrepreneur. So how in the world, am I going to start a business and help people in business? And so I wanted the shortcut. I wanted the shortcut. So I started to interview people who were startups, who were multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs that had built it from scratch, corporate executives. I would just call people up, community leaders. And what I was really interested in was people who also had the balance of a good personal life and a good professional life. So it wasn't just about the money, and it wasn't just about you do a lot of good things in the world. It was marrying up, somebody who understood profit as well as somebody who understood people, and being able to put those together. And what I heard over and over again in these interviews was 7 themes, and they became my 7 pillars of leadership. And what I found was that when you make one small tweak in these areas, or if there's something missing, then you can make a huge difference. And if you're missing something, that potentially is the reason why things aren't working out for you. And so the first pillar is about starting with the end in mind, starting with that written plan. And an entrepreneur oftentimes who's very creative may struggle with sitting down and actually writing out what they want because they get all the bright, shiny objects, right? So
right.
I could do this and I could do this. But that was very important. And I met a woman, she actually spoke at my Leadership Success Summit 2 years ago, and she said that she has her big board of her written plan in her bedroom. So when she wakes up in the morning, now that's not what I want on my wall, and I don't have it there, but I thought, wow, like here's somebody who's so laser focused.
Right.
And she's opened several brick and mortar stores, several storefronts, and she's very successful. But it is like the first thing she sees when she goes to bed and the first thing when she wakes up in the morning. So, the written plan. And The second piece is personality. Know your personality. And I actually walk people through in my work personality behavioral assessments. You know, if you're not getting things, you know, I'm not a detail person. So that's a problem if you're running a business. Details are important. Knowing your books, profit is important. So I have to have people on my team who will even say to me, I know you don't value the details, but for this project, you need them right now, you know, because that's important, because I'm so big picture. And while I can strategize with a client, for myself, it's like, yeah, you know, we don't need
Right.
that today. So that was important, is really to understand that, so that you can see it and go, okay, so this is a piece of me. You know, what am I going to do to make sure that otherwise I'm not going to get what I want in my plan.
Mm-hmm.
The third piece was partnerships. You know, creating those powerful partnerships. People who had if they didn't know the answer, they knew who to go to get it. It was just incredible to hear some of the stories. The fourth one was living your priorities. Each one of them spoke about having their own priorities, whatever they were, and not to look at whatever somebody else wanted or thought was good for their business, so that they weren't swayed if somebody came in, whether it was you know, a consultant, or whether it was somebody that was also a business partner, really understanding that there are certain priorities, certain non-negotiables to set up. And I talk to my clients about setting those boundaries. And that's really about taking the bigger written plan into smaller doses. You know, what's the 30-day plan? You know, when you live your priorities, you really are clear about where you're moving. The 5 was creating a meaningful and memorable presence. And obviously something that I spend time with my clients, you know, is really, you know, how do you do that? How are you the one that people remember? I had somebody that was a colleague of mine. We would go to a business event. This was years ago. We'd both walk into the room and she'd say, why do people remember you? I've met that person 3 times. And the question is, you shouldn't be asking that other person why they don't remember you. You should be asking yourself, why am I not memorable, that people don't want to remember who I am? So, you know, that I have an acronym, and the K is the knockout. You know, you should know what your knockout is. It's, you know, it's either your attitude, it's your image, it's your you know, how you make people feel. It's the way it's a lot of different things. But everybody has one. Some people it's intelligence, some people it's humor. But you should know what that is, and you should lead with that. And then 6 is actually the pillar of progress or profit, and it's about evaluating. So you evaluate and go back. And so each of these people were very clear that even if it was a good idea, sometimes you kill good ideas because there's just too many of them and they take you off track. And so it's the stage of evaluation. And some people wait and evaluate once a year. You know, these were people who evaluated at least once a week and said, are we going in the direction that we should be going? Does it make sense? You know, getting input. And I think a lot of times entrepreneurs are so close to an idea that they want to, they're not willing to kill it, and it doesn't serve them anymore. And then the final one was investing in professional development. They all were people who were lifelong learners. You know, they had mastermind groups and coaches, and they had you know, people that they would you know, use to advise them, and they were people who went to trainings. And that was one of the things that they would, you know, were really big on, was going to
critical
different levels. One of the women, you know, had gone to a Harvard executive program that she spent like $20-some thousand on for the week, but she had the ability to then meet executives from all over the world that then allowed her to do a launch and get, you know, bigger opportunities. One of the women that I had met with. So that was really important and interesting, you know, interesting to see. Made me say, okay, I'm doing something right, you know, investing in myself. So.
Well, I think investing in your success is absolutely critical. You know, attending live events is really important for creating long-lasting partnerships and relationships, and getting out there and getting your name known. Even investing in the right coach and mentor is going to be incredible. I mean, look at, you just talked about the woman who went from 50,000 to 500,000. That's what a coach can do for you. So I love your pillars. I've been taking notes down here. And Lisa, so talk to me about your Leadership Success Summit, because I mean, it's a perfect lead in from what we were just talking about, but this is your kind of signature summit that you put on every year, right?
Yes. Yes, this is the 6th year that I've done it, and
Wow.
Leadership Success Summit was something where I didn't even plan on year 2. I mean, it was just kind of, it was something where I wanted to give back to people, and I wanted to bring in people that I knew so that they could come in a live format. And what has happened is just snowballed into something where I get to take the 7 pillars, and people who want to create an effective plan, they get to implement them on the spot and actually leave with something very concrete.
I love
But
that.
then also, like you said, connect with people. The event is in Irvine, California, so sunny Southern California, and we're expecting actually really good weather. It's January 24th and 25th, and I've looked at the forecast, because hoping that people will get outside a little bit. And so January 24th and 25th, and it's at the Hotel Irvine. The website is www.leadershipsuccesssummit.com. And at the event, we're walking through the steps, that it takes for an effective plan. We walk through all the 7 pillars. There's time for connection. And I think that the biggest thing is the piece on positioning, where you really get to spend some time being able to map out what that would look like if you were to shift to be able to position yourself truly as an expert, so that people could see just all the brilliance that you have, and be able to buy into the who you are as much as the what you do.
And I know that your event is coming up here, so for the people that are watching, I don't want you to think, oh, I can't do that because it's too soon. I mean, imagine the transformation that's going to happen in your message and in your business by attending an event that goes through each of the pillars, where you can actually walk out of there with a rock solid action plan. And so I definitely wanted to offer my personal recommendation that you find a way to go to that event, because I think it's going to be important. And it's not like, I'm not an affiliate or anything like this. This is just me telling you that I think it's a value, and I think you should look into it. So Lisa, I wish you the best success. I know you don't need me to wish you that, because it'll already be successful, but I can't wait to attend in future years as well. And unfortunately, we're winding down on our time, and I just feel like I could talk to you all day. So I'm going to have to pick my last question wisely here. But what I want to ask you is, based on all of your years of experience, all of the results and transformation that you've helped your clients achieve, I mean, the people listening right now are fired up. 2014 is going to be their year, but they're going to be going through some challenges. Can they really do this? What lasting advice can you give them that they can take away from this interview and move forward in a better direction this year?
Well, that's a really heavy last question, Amber.
I know. It always is.
I would say that a lot of times people get told that they should create a plan, and that they should have a plan B. And my thing is having a plan T. T as in trust. Trusting that if you've done the work, meaning you've put together your plan, you've reached out to people authentically, you've built partnerships, you are really clear about what your strengths are, you're positioning yourself, and you're doing all these things, then you have to trust that the things that are working out for the right reason, even if you don't understand it. And a lot of times people will then scrap something too soon, because they think, well, I'm not getting these results, and so maybe I'll try this. And it ends up being a very disjointed, and it's not a clear, you're not moving towards that one single thing that you so absolutely want. And so having that plan, understanding that there's a plan T, to really trust, and that your plan will realize, it will manifest, even if it looks a little bit different than you thought. I can't say how many times that has happened in my own business, where something doesn't happen, but something better happens. You know,
No
a
kidding.
speaking engagement will cancel and I'll get on the exact same day a better opportunity. And a lot of times there's that, oh my gosh, you know, what am I not doing? And there's the anxiousness of I should work harder. And so my part two to that plan T is, if you're feeling that, the best gift you can give yourself is to pull back, not to push forward. Breathe, meditate, you know, trust that, you know, you're in the right place, you're more than enough, there is a reason. And so rather than saying, you know, how many more hours can I put into this? How much more marketing dollars do I have to give it? What am I not doing? Really being able to exert that plan T, that it it's you're not perfect, and nothing that you do is going to be perfect other than just being who you are.
Wow. Okay, I don't know about you, but that almost made me choke up. That just hit me like right in my heart, and that was really, really great advice, Lisa. Thank you. I just love you to pieces. I'm so honored that you took the time to join me on this interview today. For those of you listening, please do us a favor and make a comment below. So just scroll down, you'll see the comment box. Really would love to hear your top takeaway. I know that's going to be hard to come up with just one, so feel free to share a few takeaways. And there's also social media share buttons below. Please share this interview with your network and get the word out about Lisa's event and just what she's up to. Follow her on social media, check out her website. But for sure, make that comment below. And Lisa, I just want to thank you very much again for your time today.
Oh, thank you so much. And you know, I would love to be able to you know, give a shout out also.
Sure.
You've got your event, you know, your Authentic Business Success Summit, and I want people to once again, I know they're connected to you and they love you, but you know, once again, if you're on social media and you're doing a shout out, you know, that would be this is a great time to be able to do that.
Thank you
Looking
very
forward
much.
to partnering with so many more things, Amber, over the
Oh,
next
I
year.
know. Me too. I mean, it's so cool that we're doing our summits at the same time, and
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
really cool that we got to connect. So, everyone, thank you so much for your time, for watching us today, and look forward to your comments below, and we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.